Bonjour, and welcome to this presentation on investing in France. My name is Dan Nitis, and I hope to provide you with the information that you and your company needs in order to better understand the investment opportunities that await you in this European nation. By the end of this presentation, I hope you have a much clearer understanding of the French people, the culture, the tourism, the political climate, and specifically the economic opportunities that await you and your company. France is transitioning from an economy that has featured extensive government ownership and intervention to one that relies more on market mechanisms. International companies choose France because of its strategic position at the heart of Europe, the largest market in the world with 500 million consumers, and because of its membership in the Eurozone. With 65 million citizens, France is the second largest consumer market in Europe after Germany, and the fifth largest economy in the world, with a GDP of 2.6 trillion US dollars in 2010. Let me introduce you to France's president, who is François Hollande, a socialist. He is seen pictured here with outgoing President Sarkozy. After winning the May 2012 presidential election, after advocating pro-growth economic policies, as well as a commitment to hire an additional 60,000 civil servants during his 5-year term of office. With at least 75 million foreign tourists per year, France is the most visited country in the world and maintains the third largest income in the world from tourism. One of the favorite museums in the world for most tourists is the Louvre, which is home to the Mona Lisa, fantastic paintings by Monet and Rembrandt, and of course, Winged Victory and the Venus de Milo. Of course, what would a trip to France be without a stop in Versailles, or the opportunity for exquisite French cuisine? France has an extensive history dating back over 1,000 years, including the building of Notre Dame in the 11th century, as well as being ruled by Napoleon Bonaparte in the 19th century, and of course, the storming of Normandy during World War II. Higher education is extremely important to this European nation. France is the fourth leading host and source country of students studying abroad under the European Union. In 2011, over 285,000 foreign students were studying at French universities, including the Sorbonne, which is pictured here. Providing training for top young students in France and abroad, and the construction of scientific networks and partnerships is critical to the viability of this European nation. The Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs places growing importance within its international cooperation policy on research and higher education in a world where the production of knowledge has become a major driver for economic development. Since the year 2000, the World Health Organization has recognized France as having the #1 healthcare system in the world. The French healthcare system offers services that provides universal coverage and is a system that is strongly defended by virtually everyone in France. The healthcare system in France is made up of a fully integrated network of public hospitals, private hospitals, doctors, and other medical providers. It provides coverage for every citizen, irrespective of wealth, age, or social status. And as you can see from this slide, the spending per capita is almost half of what we see in the United States. The French transportation system is one of the best in Western Europe. French railways, which were nationalized just before World War II, carry a somewhat greater ton mileage load of freight than do those of Germany, and French passenger mileage is also slightly greater than that of its eastern neighbor. The government has used low freight rates to stimulate economic activity, and passenger rates have been kept artificially low to make traveling easier for the lower income groups. In addition, the state has electrified the busiest lines. It has developed Europe's fastest passenger train, the high-speed TGV. It began operation in 1981 on a specially built Paris-Lyon track, where it cruises at up to 185 miles per hour. The Channel Tunnel, or Channel, as it is more commonly known, is the underwater railroad connecting England to France and Brussels. Operating by 1994, it runs beneath the English Channel at the Strait of Dover. The Eurostar is the name for the train that runs in the tunnel. The Channel Tunnel consists of interconnecting tubes, rail tracks each way, and service tunnels. The length of this revolutionary transportation system is a total of 31 miles, of which 23 are underwater at an average of 150 feet deep. It is the second longest undersea tunnel in the world, and interestingly was first suggested by Napoleon in 1802. It was initiated by President Mitterrand of France and Queen Elizabeth II of England in 1988. It took $15 billion in 6 years to begin this operation of the tunnel, and 3 of those years consisted specifically of hollowing out the tunnel 150 feet below the Earth's surface. Here we are located at the Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, one of the world's principal aviation centers as well as France's largest airport. It is named after Charles de Gaulle, leader of the Free French Forces and founder of the French Fifth Republic in 1958. In 2011, this airport handled 61 million passengers and over 500,000 aircraft, making it the world's 7th busiest airport and Europe's 2nd busiest airport after London's Heathrow. It is also the world's 10th busiest and Europe's busiest airport in aircraft movement. In cargo traffic, this airport is the 5th busiest in the world and the 2nd busiest in Europe after Frankfurt's airport, having handled 2 million metric tons of cargo in 2011. France has been transitioning from an economy that has featured extensive government ownership and intervention to one that relies more on market mechanisms. The government has partially or fully privatized many large companies, banks, and insurers, and has ceded stakes in such leading firms as Air France, France Telecom, and Renault. France is Europe's largest aerospace and nuclear industries, the 2nd largest agri-food and chemical industries, including products such as wheat and cereal, sugar beets, potatoes, wine, grapes, beef, dairy products, and fish, and it is Europe's 3rd largest ICT and pharmaceutical sector. France is part of the Eurozone, a collective group of countries which use the euro as their common currency. The Eurozone came into being in 1999 and originally consisted of 11 countries. As a currency union, monetary rules are created and maintained by the European Central Bank. France today is one of the most modern countries in the world and is a leader among European nations. It plays an influential global role as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, NATO, the G8, the G20, the EU, and other multilateral organizations. With a GDP that approaches $2 trillion, the composition includes 79% from services, approximately 20% from industry, and a little over 2% from agriculture. France trails only Germany as a top 5 economic power in the European Union. France is both a major importer of goods as well as exporter of things, including but not limited to aircraft, as we see Airbus. Here is an A380, first class cabin, the lounge, as well as the cabin of an Airbus corporate jet. Other exports include iron, steel, and beverages, including the very popular French wine. Principal trading partners come from Europe, North America, as well as Asia. Except for the economic crisis following 2008, France has seen its GDP per capita climb from 27,000 in 2004 up to 35,000 US dollars in 2012. Although France's annual growth rate has declined since the recession of 2008, the current president, Hollande, promises to grow the GDP over his next 5 years in office. France is the #1 investment destination in Europe. Won't you join us? With over 20,000 foreign companies currently having a base in France and also employing over 2.3 million people, that is double the figure only 10 years ago. Foreign companies in France produce 40% of French exports and perform more than 20% of research and development currently being conducted in France. France is the gateway to Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, with access to over 500 million consumers. And have I mentioned, we are the second largest market in Europe, with a population of over 65 million people. France is home to Paris, one of the most popular destinations in the world. It is the third most popular location in the world for Fortune 500 company headquarters, trailing only Tokyo and Beijing. The Greater Paris Project is currently under development, with a plan to erase physical and symbolic boundaries between Paris and its suburbs, equipping the Paris region with major centers of excellence within global reach. We plan to improve sea, river, rail, and air transport links serving the Paris metropolitan area so that it is better connected to the world. We plan on responding to environmental challenges to build a sustainable 21st century city. And we are responding to the urgent need for long-term investment in housing and transport. We plan to invest more than 32 billion euro in public transport, 72 stations, and 2 to 3 million journeys per day. Several projects include Biotech Valley, which seeks to build up outstanding concentration of top biotech players in the region in order to ignite value creation in biotechnologies and research in life sciences. This project will intensify the economic power of the current business district, bring together financial activities to give them greater visibility, establish high value-added services for companies, and increase the number of schools and universities in relevant fields. The urban fabric of this core area to the north of Paris will be substantially restructured to make it a coherent and pleasant urban ensemble. Business activity here will be driven both by the aerospace and commercial aviation sectors, as well as by hotel, tourism, and food service industries. This area aims to recreate a high-quality urban center by completing the renovation of major complexes and reinserting them into a denser, more varied urban fabric, as well as fostering social inclusion for residents. Area 92 will provide a sports and cultural facility for use by the general public. It will play host to major sporting events, as well as around 30 contemporary and classical concerts every year. In terms of green energy, 23% of France's energy consumption will be met by renewable energy in 2020. The President of France has set a target of creating 70,000 new housing units per year to meet existing demand. Currently, only 40,000 units are delivered each year. So a further campaign to release publicly owned land is planned to enable at least 50,000 housing units to be built between now and 2016. According to Forbes magazine, of the 10 most innovative companies in Europe, 6 are French companies. France is ranked second in Europe and fourth in the world for number of international patents filed. There are 71 innovation clusters, stimulating research and development through public-private partnerships. It is the second leading recipient of foreign research and development. These clusters that are throughout Europe are centers of dialogue and partnership between private businesses, public sector research laboratories, universities, and academic institutions. By late 2009, over 1/3 of cluster members were involved in R&D projects. Over 700 projects had been concluded, while another 2,300 were underway. Cluster members employed 760,000 people, including 270,000 highly skilled employees as of 2008. By 2030, we anticipate adding 800,000 new jobs and 1.5 million more residents in France. We are leading the way to prosperity, and I am hopeful that your company will join us. Again, my name is Dan Naitis, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation on the economic power of France.